Good morning, everyone. I believe you can wait just one more minute or two to allow the other participants to join, and then we can start. I think, Tapiwa, if you want to open your camera, and Erica too, feel free. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I think whilst we're waiting for everybody else, we can.
Yeah, sorry, your voice was cut, but go ahead, Tapiwa.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we start in the standard British tradition of talking about weather, and for sure it's cold out here, and sometimes it's literally cold for nothing. There's no snow. There's nothing, to go and play out there for. It's just slit and very cold. So you find that a lot of people are like moving wardrobes. Yeah. So it's very exciting time until early next year, January, February. Yeah, we kind of get very, very cold here in England. I'm delighted to be speaking to people in a sunnier climate who actually enjoy the sun, or who know what the sun looks like, at least for the next 4 months.
There is a sunny day, Tapiwa, in Brazil, in São Paulo. Yeah.
You guys are spoiled.
So I think we can start. We have 11 participants. There are others to join, but in the benefit of time and in respect to the ones that arrived on time. And so good morning again to everyone. I would like to thank Britcham supporting members, whose brands were widely publicized in the opening slide of this webinar. I would like to thank also to the Vice President of the Environmental and Sustainability Committee, which is Guilherme Leal, that was not able to join this morning. And to the speakers, especially Erica Azevedo, that we're gonna introduce in a few minutes, but Erica is the Latin America Innovation and Water Resilience Manager of Water Offsets, and Tapiwa Gavaza, CEO of Water Offsets. And I'd like to thank you both for being today here, and also for sharing the knowledge we're gonna share with us today. As we consider that all the participants are associates, but the British Chambers, as you are aware, has been operating in Brazil for now 180 years, being the most relevant forum in Brazil, in the Brazil-UK business. And the idea is always to increase trade investment, services, and bilateral relationships. Britcham has operations on a national level with branches in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Paraná, and Minas Gerais. So we bring together in the chamber major British investors in Brazil for most diverse sectors of the economy, as well as Brazilian companies that engage UK-Brazil relations. The chamber has 13 thematic committees. One is this committee today, that is the Environmental and Sustainability Committee. And there is also, besides the committees, the Consultative Advocacy Commission on priority issues on the climate, tax, and regulatory agendas. All the activities we carry out, follow, and reinforce Britcham's missions to promote bilateral business between Brazil and UK, working to create diverse, inclusive, prosperous, and sustainable business environments and societies, serving members and contributing to the growth of trade, industry, services, and investments. I invite everyone to visit Britcham's website and participate in the Chamber's next events. So I will present very briefly the CVs of Erica and Tapiwa. Erica is an international trade specialist with more than 20 years of experience. She spent most of her career at the British Consulate General in São Paulo, supporting trade and investment between Brazilian and British companies. During this period, Erica has established a solid network in the business community and the public sector, identifying and promoting business cooperation between Brazil and UK. She is currently, as I mentioned, the Latin American Innovation and Water Resilience Manager at Water Offsets, and manages strategic partnerships between academia, public and private sectors, with focus on water resilience, which is the main subject of this morning. And then Tapiwa Gavaza, which is the CEO of this groundbreaking, vertically integrated water tech company, the Water Offsets, which is leading in addressing water neutrality in the United Kingdom and water resilience in Latin American region. He is the innovator of a water tech software that is making it viable to design, implement, and monitor the delivery of water neutral development. On the global scale, this technology is being scaled up to deliver water resilience to communities, companies, and cities. And specifically in UK, he has led the delivery of nearly 4,000 water neutral homes. And it's very interesting, the numbers, and he's gonna explain much more than what I'm going to tell you. But these water neutral homes, which only use 65 to 71 liters per day, represents more than 50% of reduction on the currently UK average water use, which corresponds to 148 liters per day. So I will pass the floor to Erica, and let's have a productive meeting today. So Erica, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Bianca, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. As Bianca mentioned, I've worked for so many years at the British Consulate, so this is like going back home, because British Chamber also has always been engaging with the consulate for trade and investment opportunities. So it feels really great to be here. Thank you all for having us this morning. So very briefly, I just going to introduce myself very quickly because I'm based here in Brazil, covering Latin America. So we started the activities in Brazil last year after a visit from Water Offsets as part of a UK government innovation program. And they decided to really establish themselves in the market because, as you're going to hear from Tapiwa, there is a lot of synergies here. And at the moment, we have been liaising mainly with Brazil and Mexico in Latin America. I just wanted to apologize because as soon as we started, my neighbor started to some kind of construction. So as a surprise, I think he wants to take part as well. But further than that, I'm going to be available to talk to everybody after this webinar. As I said, I'm based here in Brazil, in São Paulo. So for the ones that are also here, we're going to be able to set up a coffee or a meeting and discuss and maybe explore opportunities for collaboration. because this is our idea from now on. I'm going to very quickly play a short video about water offsets so that we can just set the scene before we pass to Tapiwa.
Water is the essence of life, but for many, it is a daily challenge. Cities and countries face high water stress, whether due to water scarcity or poor quality. There is competition for the resource among various sectors. We are witnessing rapid population growth and urbanization, yet the amount of water remains the same or even less with irregular availability. In this scenario, we continue to live as we do. Water availability increasing risk. We need to take a holistic and conscious approach to water consumption. We must change the way we relate to this finite resource so it remains available and accessible to everyone. With this vision, Water Offsets was founded. We are a company specializing in creating innovative solutions for the management, conservation, and protection of water, helping businesses, communities, and the environment ensure the resilience of their water resources. Our work is network-based through the partnerships we build.
Our mission is to create a future where water is secure, available, and accessible to communities, to cities, to the environment, and to industry. A future where water is sustainable for everyone.
For us, water resilience is the ability to recover or minimize water systems from stress factors such as scarcity and pollution, and to adapt to future challenges. To achieve this, we apply our Aquacity technology, which ensures efficiency, water reduction, and reuse, thus paving the way for a water-neutral future. Balancing water usage. The system reduces consumption to 65 liters per person per day, which represents over a 50% reduction. For example, in the United Kingdom, where the average consumption is 150 liters per person per day, Sao Paulo, Brazil, it is possible to save up to 16 billion liters of water annually, promoting efficient use and water recirculation within households. In Monterrey, Mexico, up to 20 billion liters of water can be saved annually, promoting a culture of conservation and reuse.
We believe that in order to face the water challenges of the 21st century, we must adopt a water circular economy. We use the water at least twice, reducing waste and protecting our natural resources, ensure global sustainability and prosperity.
Water offsets, ensuring water.
So I hope you felt inspired by this in this video, and I think today we are going to focus a little bit more on how the collaboration with the industry can take place. But I'll just pass the word to Tapiwa now, who's going to be able to present everything to you, and we are going to be open for questions again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you, everybody, for meeting us. It's actually great to be here. I was in Brazil last year between March and April, and I had the opportunity of going into Sao Paulo, also into Campinas and Porto Alegre. And yeah, I had the great experience of experiencing, Brazilian sunshine and great people. And I thought to myself, it would be really great to live here, isn't it? And but then I needed to find a very good reason for us to set up in Brazil. And besides that, I looked carefully at what's happening in the water sector in Brazil. There are a number of things that are occurring, not only in Brazil, but are happening everywhere throughout the world in terms of water scarcity. And Brazil, just like any other very hot country, it has got attendant high water use because of hot weather. And we've got growing cities, and we have a very significant population growth, where cities are expanding, particularly in Latin America, at 5 to 10% per year. Now, that then creates a significant constraint on the amount of water resources that are available over time. And that issue is actually compounded significantly by climate change. So what I've done, I've done two things. I first want to set the stall in terms of what is the context within Sao Paulo and Brazil, and then we'll get into the context. What is the context within the global economy? So my first presentation is going to focus on Sao Paulo per se, what we discovered, what we experienced, the potential to make Sao Paulo and cities in Brazil much more water resilient, and also, looking at the fundamentals of how can cities be resilient, and particularly for businesses, what does privatization mean in terms of the water sector? What does dependency mean? Because I think in the UK, we've had considerable experience, nearly 40 years, nearly a generation of privatization. And we've been through the peaks and the troughs. And at the moment, we're in the valleys, but we're coming out, and that's where innovation comes in. When you've got a crisis, that is where innovation comes in to help you solve problems. And fundamentally, our offer to the market, whether it's residential, industrial, or commercial estates, is that nature is very particular, particularly when it comes to water. And water is one of the best gifts that we've ever been given, because between 0 degrees and 100 degrees, water maintains its state. It is the only element that has got such a wide temperature range that can stay being a liquid. And so that creates for us an opportunity where we can manipulate, treat, reuse, recycle, repurpose water. And if you look in a normal hydrological cycle, in a normal raining event, water comes from the clouds, it falls on land, it goes into rivers and dams. We treat the water, we put it into industry, we put it into residential homes. And most often than not, we then discharge it, and sometimes it ends up in the sea or in another secondary treatment plant where it will be then converted back into potable water. Now, for cities like Sao Paulo, this is quite interesting because, one, fundamentally, the topography of Sao Paulo is quite undulating, it's up and down, up and down. And so that creates quite an interesting technical issue in terms of your pipes that are going up and down and your pumping stations, which means that just because of those physical constraints, you're more likely to have more water losses where you've got joints or pipes, just because of the pressure that you need and the undulation of the ground. Now, if you're losing 20 to 30 or even sometimes 40% of your water that you've treated, that you're not getting much of, it makes sense for you to try, once you have that water, to try and use it at least twice or 3 times. And fundamentally, that's our principle. We believe in this water circular economy, because that way it means that whatever water we have, even if we're in a drought situation, we can recycle that water and make it go further. And it also means that we can retain the water that is within the environment, in the environment. It also means that we can put water back into aquifers and into rivers. And it also means that we can actually have sustainable businesses. I just want to highlight one of the fundamental things that has really happened to us as a company. When we started on this journey of water circularity, we were convinced that it is the right way to go about in terms of water management. We do know that in terms of climate change, most of the noise is associated with carbon markets and energy. But the missing component in that conversation is water, because none of these, carbon credits can really survive if your environment doesn't have water. You can't plant trees if there is no water. You can't have nature recovery if there's no water. So you can't breathe good air in the cities if there's no water, right? So fundamentally, if you solve the water problem, you really have an incremental manner in terms of addressing climate change. And for all of the years that we've spoken about climate change, it is only in COP28 last year in Dubai when water started featuring on the COP agenda. And so we still have a long way to go, but we do believe that innovation can really help to provide solutions. So as I said in the beginning, I'm going to start off with the work that we've done in looking at opportunities globally in Sao Paulo, and then I'll do a global presentation on our work and what we're doing, and we'll be able to start touching some of those elements that particularly affect industry and what we're doing in the industrial sector. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Fantastic. So last year we were in Sao Paulo, and it's an amazing city. One of the big things that I did notice coming into Sao Paulo was this range here. It was the first time I came into a city where you've got these beautiful tall buildings. And I'm actually, a student of architecture. I love, city topologies and to look at different landscapes. And when I looked at it, I said, my, oh my, this is amazing. It's an amazing city. And there are significant amounts of communities that are actually living in all of these tall buildings. And what does it mean in terms of the water infrastructure and in terms of the availability of water resources? One of the very interesting facts that we established when we were in Sao Paulo, being a water person, was the first question that comes to mind is obviously how much water can we save? How can we make this city fundamentally very, very sustainable? And we established that just by using the very simple elements that are associated with our technology, we could save 16 billion liters of water in Sao Paulo. Because when we look at cities and industries and communities, we look at the opportunity to find water within those communities. In the advent of climate change, we don't believe that most of the water is actually in the dam or that we can necessarily depend on the rain. We cannot depend on the rains because of climate change, but we know where there's utility. We know where the water is being used. The water is being used in the companies, in the buildings, and in the communities. And that is where we established that if we took 1,000 of these buildings here, each of them having 200 flats and an average 5 people, we could simply save 16 billion liters of water per year. And this was just a simple exercise. And our fundamental dream for Brazil in particular is to work with industries and create what we call aqua cities, where there's sharing of water resources between different industries and different industrial applications, where you can get water from a data center and it's warm water, you can send it to a leisure resort and take it out from a leisure resort, send it to a next industrial processing plant, so that there's more and more circularity, particularly as the city expands. And so those are some of the fundamental ideas that we have, that we're looking to introduce into the market. When it arose to us that we could actually save 16 billion in the city, that's when we then decided, okay, what are the fundamental issues that are really affecting Brazil? What are the issues that are people contending with? Does it make sense to even try and do this? And we looked at the water crisis risk index. And as you know, most of your popular cities, they are on the coast. And as you can see, some of these cities are at extreme and very high water crisis levels. And so when we started looking at that most of the population and inhabitants, they actually live in areas that are highly water stressed. And particularly if we look into the city of Sao Paulo, liters per person per day, our technology can reduce that water consumption by between 45 to 60%, down to 65 to 75 liters per person per day. And so when we looked at that, we considered that we actually have a solution for the city that can be applicable for new developments and for existing establishments. And this is just a fundamental principle of what can be done. And in industry, if you particularly look at the hospitality sector, for instance, if you've got a hotel with 200 rooms or 300 rooms, the impact that this can have on your operating costs is quite significant, because if you're reducing your water consumption by that amount, it means that even the impact that has now been had regarding the increase in water prices, which I understand is around 50%, you can actually offset that increase in water prices by working with us, because then, we reduce your water consumption by 50 to 60%. You actually end up in cash positive, even with privatization. Our software, which is called AquaCity, gives you the capacity to actually design systems where you can significantly reduce your consumption, whether it's industrial or residential, hospitality sector. It works with AI and IoT devices and smart meters. And we do know that particularly when it comes to industrial uses, every industry is different, because what you're doing, different processes, whether it's food industry, whether it's tanning industry, whether it's a bottling industry, your requirements are different. And the solutions for those industries will be different, because with some industries, we work with them to recover solvents. With other industries, we look at the opportunities of, okay, how much water can we recycle? Is it operationally, can we recycle 60 to 70% of the water, so that we've got a smaller treatment plant at the end of the day, but most of the water is being reused locally? And what is the opportunity to recharge local aquifers and send water into natural streams that are close by in a much cleaner state? And so we do think that, really looking at water is going to be a big issue for a lot of companies that are dependent on water, and even developers themselves that need to be addressing water issues. We know that Brazil is one of the most gifted countries in the world when it comes to water resources. But that water, most of it is found in the Amazon Valley, in the Amazon River. And the interesting issue is that we've got very low water availability in Sao Paulo, but 25% of the entire population resides there. So you've got significant competition between residential use, urban sprawl, and commercial uses. And globally, the issues that we really want to avoid is something like this. This is what happened in Monterrey, Mexico, 2-3 years ago. Our mission is to stop, this happening, where people have to resort to tankers in the end. And this is actually a reality. England, having spent the last 100 years, being at the forefront of water systems, designing the systems that we now use, this linear model of water supply, where we get water, we treat water, we use water, and then we dispose of the water. That model worked quite proficiently when we had smaller cities, because the demand on the water resources within those river catchments or those aquifers could cope. But then as cities have expanded, it means that the sensitivity of these aquifers and rivers is much more pronounced. And so you end up in these cities, in these situations, inevitably, if the water is not managed properly. Our aim is to make Sao Paulo a water resilient city. within the next 5 to 10 years. We are actively working with a number of actors in the industry. We've got great partnership with Eclair. We're also working with SME consultants, whom we're hoping to form much more strategic partnerships with and expand our footprint in the region, which we're delighted to say. So we do think that there is really scope, for Sao Paulo to lead this, to demonstrate to the world that even though there's a lot of water demand, we can be at the forefront of water resilience. And the great thing, Sao Paulo is a well-established credit market when it comes to carbon. The other idea that we have is for water to be commoditized, where the water saved could be sold to other uses as a trading mechanism. And we think that market is very viable for an industry that is already understanding these types of financial tools, where you can commoditize the value of water and trade it between different industrial sectors. Porto Alegre, we were there for the South Summit, and there was significant water use, particularly in that area. It's an area that we really like to look at again and revisit. And we are very conscious of what happened with the flooding situation, and it's something that Erica, myself, and other participants have been working on gingerly in the background to come with some solutions from the work that we've done in the UK and elsewhere in the world in terms of flood risk management, how flood risk management can be part of your water resilience solution. And so that is something that we'll be taking on board going forward. And in the episodes, there have been significant episodes of water quality that frequently occur, particularly in Porto Alegre, and we think that there are opportunities there where the management of water, and with the help of industry, could actually be enhanced. And we do feel that the activity that's now happened in Sao Paulo, where we now have privatization, and potentially there might be privatization later on in Porto Alegre, might offer opportunities where there is more cooperation and scope for greater innovation. So that's a bit of background on the work that we've done in Brazil. Now I'm going to take you through our international portfolio, because I think that's quite important for us to really give you a bit more clarity and understanding in terms of us as a company and where we're going, why we're doing what we're doing, and so that you can actually be able to see where there's a cross section between what we offer and what you may be looking for as an organization. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, so what offsets, we established the company to really deliver global water resilience. And fundamentally, these are the two people that really taught me about water, my grandparents. I grew up in the city, of course, but then I loved grandparents, and I would go to their farm. And at the farm, I'll be present during the school holidays. And what happened during those breaks is that during the summer, it was fun. We had a 60,000-liter tank, then a 7-bedroom corrugated farmhouse, and it was perfect. We would rainwater harvest, put it into the tank, and every week we put 2 chlorine tablets. It was fine. But during the dry months, we would have to go on ox carts, take 2 drums, only 400 liters, 10 miles away every week, and it would literally take us a day to finish. But as a child, it was fun. But as I grew up, I noticed progressively, because in those seasons, my grandmother also had to carry a bucket about 5 miles nearly every day of clean water for cooking from the local borehole. And it started she used to take 15 minutes. And then as she grew older, it was 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And you could actually see the pain. And that, for me, really cemented how precious water is and what you need to do when you have it as a resource. And it formulated, the founding principles of water offsets as a business. Now, globally, this problem is increasingly becoming big. We have many regions where it's just becoming worse by the day. And of course, climate change is making this worse. Increasing populations is making this work. A lack of investment is also compounding the issue. And industrialization demands a lot of water, and worse still, data centers themselves. And this thing with AI and digital technology, the way we expand, those digital tools and create data centers, those are machines are water hungry. In the UK, all water companies have stopped supplying water to any data center. If you want to have a data center, you have to find your own water, drill a bore, do something, but you can't talk to a water company because they just consume a lot of water. And naturally, we've come up with a solution to help with that. One of the fundamental issues that we've identified is because we do what we call a sectoral approach. At domestic scale, what is the best opportunity of reducing water? Whether it's a hotel, a resort, wherever people live, the highest consumption of water comes from the water that you use for bathing and taking a shower. That is where we have the best opportunity to really recycle water. And we recycle that water at domestic level because it doesn't make sense to draw water from 20 miles, treating it, and then using it to flush the toilet or to wash the car, or for the washing machine. We can recycle that water and particularly use it for those elements. Now, we have decided to go even a step further and actually recycle that water so that you can use it for bathing and washing. Our offer to the Brazilian market is that this version 1 that allows us to be able to use that water for toilet flushing, washing machine, and for laundry and for gardening. That product will be available by the time we get to COPE in Brazil next year, and then version 2 is going to follow up the next year. That's the one that you can use the water for showering. So how does that machine work? So effectively, that machine, it takes water from the bathroom shower and recycles it into the washing machine, external garden, car parking, for car washing, and you can also use that water for bathing. Why this is critically important globally is water is becoming a flashpoint. We do think that Latin America is still fortunate, it still has time to react and to be prepared. But there are regions, like for instance in Southeast Asia, where the problem is too far gone. The map on the right-hand side, this is India. And basically, most of the country is high to extremely highly water stressed. The use of tankers is common, right? In city, you can imagine that when a day comes when in a city like Sao Paulo, every other, bus or every other truck is going to be a water truck ferrying water into the city from far away. That is happening on a daily basis. And if you consider India, for instance, they are building 10 million new homes per year to cope with the population growth. These issues that are already happening in India, we suspect that many countries are 5-10 years away from having these chronic water problems. Only if they start looking at them incrementally now. And I think one of the fundamental difficulties that we all have with this water problem is that even when you privatize, water and water provision, the difficulty is that the matrices upon which water companies operate are based on the linear model, which means that if they can maximize the amount of water that they can supply, then they can maximize their profit margin and their growth. The matrices have to be looked into with at least, we consider at least 20 to 30% environmental level, so that everybody, even the community, pays that 30% just to maintain and manage the environment. And then that will then help the entire community to be much more circular. And there should be incentives for people to be recycling and using water at least twice. So until that issue is firmly resolved, where water companies come in, they supply water, but they also have an ethos to help to be environmental, this kind of situation can erupt anywhere in the world. We consider, from a business point of view, if you are delivering, we are working with house builders that are listed on the London Stock Exchange, for instance. They've got a mandate to deliver anywhere between 5,000 and some of them up to 20 to 30,000 homes per year. They can only deliver those homes if they've got a proficient water supply, right? And so this is where this technology comes in, where, for the same amount of water, they can build 2 homes instead of building 1 home, and it can accelerate their growth, and they can then report to the markets that they're actually meeting their financial tools. I'm always a strong believer that there is always a cross-section between economy, environment, and resilience. If you just go for resilience without the economy, then you can't support the environment. So that's where we really conceptualize these ideas about how can we work with industry and how can we deliver for industrial sectors. So these are some of the developments that we're delivering in the UK. The one on the left-hand side is a golf course that's been turned into an 800 homes sports village. It only uses 67 liters per person per day. Typically in the UK, we're using 150 liters per person per day. And to put it in context, Sao Paulo uses 180 liters per person per day. So significant savings. So if we're using this matrix, we would save each and everyone in Sao Paulo 100 liters per person per day. On the right-hand side, that's the UK's first water-neutral ecotourism development, consisting of chalets, hotels, lakes, and so forth. And we think that these ideas, they can actually help, one, to actually meet the environmental credentials, but also to deliver, profit. We understand from the World Economic Forum that for the tourism sector, Generation Z and X and so forth, they are willing to pay more if your development is actually environmental, if it's sustainable. They don't buy this ethos of, oh, we don't have to wash the towels, or we don't wash the bed sheets. They want proper environmental initiatives. And by saving water, consequently, you also save quite a lot of energy. And so, there is a nice story there to be had when you actually do this in an integrated fashion. So back to this issue regarding, this global extent of problems that we have. And actually, what is the role of industry in helping to deliver water resilience? I must say, the fundamental issue is that water should be private. It should be a private issue. It should be as private as being personal, which means that each and every industry and factory, when it uses water, should, if it is going to be resilient, it should be independent in its own right, in terms of having a circular system, recycling its own water, so that it has the capacity to withstand those 2-3 weeks where the city does not have water and still continue to be productive. There are cities that we know globally where things get shut down because of water, and you don't want to be in that situation, especially if you're a business. You want to have that resilience, and we're finding that those companies that have actually adopted these water principles, they're actually using them to get cheaper financial products in terms of sustainability funds. They're actually using them to reduce their energy consumption, and they're actually using them as a competitive advantage against their other competitors in the market. So the fundamental issue is that can industry play a role in safeguarding communities from having to go and fetch water in buckets and still leave water in the taps? Can there be enough cooperation like what we have in that top left-hand corner where there is a cohesive understanding that we can all come together and do this together, and that benefit goes to communities, and it also goes, to people that have got ecological interests, like the MAR Fund, whom are quite a big environmental group that we're working with in Mexico at the moment in terms of helping the hospitality sector to become much more water resilient, but also to protect the coral reefs that are along the front of these hotels because they're undermined by water use and also by water pollution. So intrinsically, industry can be at the center point of water resilience because one, you've got the capacity and you've got the commercial interest to actually be water resilient. We've always believed that not one size fits all. That is the intricacy of water, because water comes in different chemical forms subject to your industrial characteristics, whether you're a rice company, you're dealing with a swimming pool, you're a food company, or your beverages, the water quality is going to be different. And so we have always believed that design and solutions are dynamic. There is no one size fits all when it comes to water. That is why most municipalities do not want industries to be discharging water into their network, because it's a plethora of chemicals that will end up within that network. And one of the other big things that we're really conscious of is how do you make industries much more profitable? Because if we make industries much more profitable, that is when it makes sense for you to go down the water resilience or environmental route. And consciously, as a company, that is what we've sought to do. How do we deliver water resilience, environmental sustainability, and profitability for companies? And that can be wealth and health and economic benefits for communities. That equation, it's at the core of what we do. So we are agnostic when it comes to technology. We respond to that particular need, whether we're looking at city scale, we're looking at industrial scale, we're looking at industrial plots, or we're looking at a very small village. We always go what works for this kind of situation. We don't come up with a prescriptive answer. We say, okay, what is the best solution that can deliver for the client? And we are always open to challenge and to try new things. And so that really leads our innovation. So this is some of the background in terms of our traction. I'm happy to say that we are officially launching our Sao Paulo sector early next year with a local partner in Sao Paulo. Erica has been doing a marvelous job opening the market for us, but next year we really want to go to town and throughout the year as we introduce our products and our service to the market. In the UK, we are invited to the King's Foundation because of our work in the water sector. We're now advising the King's Foundation, who owns significant amount of estates. We're working with national house builders. Bellway, they do about 30,000 homes per year. We advise them on their water strategy. We're also working with Legal General, one of the biggest insurance groups in the world, and Block. We've now started looking into Southeast Asia and India, where there are great opportunities for us. But next year, we do believe that is the year for Brazil, where we've really focused our attention to really come and work with the market. So what is the team? This is the core team at the moment. We've got other people that work in the background and technological partners that supply us all of those great cylinders, our ceramic membranes and so forth. And so by next year, we anticipate that we're going to be double these numbers at least. We consider that with what's going to happen in Brazil, we'll have a team of at least 10 to 15 people by the end of the year working in Brazil. So that's quite an exciting, aspiration for us for 2025, and we're really looking forward to it. I'll be in Brazil myself late January to February for about 2 weeks, and then I'll come back later in the year to bed in the team. But we are very fortunate that we've managed to find real strong partners and associated consultancy that will be forming a bond with us and taking our message forward. So yes, that's all I have to share today. I'm looking forward to further discussions with you.
Exactly, Tapiwa. I would like to invite our audience, if there is someone that would like to raise a point, ask a question. Erica and Tapiwa are available. If there is no questions, I'm curious about 2 things, so we may go through my questions, but let's just see if there is anyone that would like to ask a question. So I will go first. When first of all, thank you for the presentation. I don't know if I heard someone. Thank you for the presentation and for the detailed explanation about the projects. I think we have had the idea of the potential of the work that can be done. And you mentioned a lot about innovation. You mentioned about new technologies. So a lot of potential new innovation in a broad sense. So how is the relationship between the company and academia? How universities, how this happens, or if it happens, especially when we consider, and have you considered someone or some institution in Brazil, how we are planning to do this?
Okay, I'll talk from the UK perspective, and I'll now let Erica fill you in on what's happening in Brazil. So we are very fortunate that we work in strong partnership with some of the world's best institutes. So we are working with the Graphene Institute at the University of Manchester, which is helping us to deliver our next tier of filtration systems. We're also working with Cranfield University, and particularly in Cranfield University, which is one of the best water universities in the world. We're particularly looking at doing a combined research project for the Brazilian market. We are very tech focused as a company, and we welcome opportunities to collaborate with companies locally, because not all problems have got immediate solutions that are out there in the market. We need to find a way. So and by the nature of what we do, we are less of where people can come up with a quick shopping list. There are things that can do quickly, but there are projects where we say, okay, let's work for the next 2-3 months. Let's understand, how your installation, how your industry is working, and what we can, and look out for opportunities, and then what we can design. And it could be a stepped process because of business costs. It could be, okay, first year you do this, second year you do this, third year you do that, which is exactly what we've done. And all of that information can then be filtered back into your ESG and sustainability strategy, and it can then be tracked. So I'll let Erica talk about the Brazil offer.
Thank you, Tapiwa. Yeah, I mean, in Brazil, we have been exploring some collaboration as well. Especially recently, we had a visit from the director from Senai Cimatec in Salvador. They went to the UK, and also the president of FIEB, and Tapiwa hosted them there. And there is an initial discussion about how we can engage with them, especially because they are also an Embrapi unit. So because our innovation agenda is very much linked to the industry, I think this is the right fit for us. So we'll be updating you guys about this, but basically this is the one of the key partners that we are exploring at the moment in terms of the academy side, and also in the related to the cities, we have this collaboration with ICLEI South America, and they are across Brazil. So we have been also establishing those relationships with those key stakeholders in order to make a stronger movement here in the market.
Oh, very interesting, and I fully agree with the path. I think partnerships, connections is how we're gonna get more strong and even achieve better solutions for sure. So in respect to the time, I have to finish our webinar. So I would like to thank the speakers and the audience for the presence. We hope that this has been interesting and fruitful to everyone. And I invite everyone to subscribe Britcham YouTube channel and share the link to the recording of this webinar. Britcham upcoming events are available on the website, and hope to see you soon. Even you, Tapia, when we come to Brazil, let's meet in person. I think we can arrange a person-to-person meeting at Britcham and invite our associates to meet you, and Erica too, for sure.
Fantastic. I'll say in closing remarks, send us. We need your water challenges. We strive on a challenge, whether it's pollution, quantity, recycling. That's what we thrive on. So if you've got a water challenge, then we're willing to come up with a solution.
Good. Like challenges, Brazil is the right place. Thank you, guys. Good day and good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Bye bye.